Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I am Jess. Today I'm really excited to share with you, I have a lot of Haworthia species succulents, I guess. So I wanted to show you guys how I propagate these. So I have a few that have a lot of babies on them, which you might already be familiar with the propagation method for those. Haworthias do a really great job at pushing babies off the sides, like little offsets that you can just kind of rip off. However, not all of them do. And sometimes it can take a really long time. And if you're not very patient, like myself, you can be waiting probably potentially years for your Haworthia to push out babies if it's not like the perfect condition for that. Some of them are really great, some of them aren't. Like these ones, there's two in this pot. There are no babies. I probably took one off if there was one, but I'm going to force babies, and that's what I'm going to show you today. And I have an example of one that I already did this with. And so essentially what we're going to be doing is taking cuttings of the Haworthia, which I'm going to show you how I do that, because it's a little bit, it feels more tricky than say taking a cutting off of an Echeveria type succulent, but it isn't, and it's quite simple. Now I do not propagate my Haworthias from leaf. I rarely even propagate my succulents such as my like Echeverias from leaf, just because cuttings is so much faster, so much more successful, I guess, than leaf propagation. And so you can propagate a lot more succulents a lot quicker with cuttings. But this is a zebra Haworthia that I propagated probably a few months ago. And so these large leaves are the parent, is what we'll call it, like the original plant. And these are the new little babies. And so this was like him there. We got one little baby, 2, 3, and then we have a bunch of little ones off the side that they shot out the side for. All of those were forced. This succulent did not have any of these babies when I propagated it, or when I took the original cuttings. So that is what I want to show you guys today. We have some zebra Haworthias. This is an old one. This is a new one I have. This one has a ton of babies, so I will show you how I'm going to separate those today, just so that you have the two methods that I use. With this one, I'm just going to take a pair of scissors, and you honestly don't even need scissors. You could probably twist them off and have just as good success. I find scissors might be a little bit more clean. Now, these two are actually like both fairly decent sized succulents. So what I'm going to do is take a fairly large cutting of it. I'm not going to take it too close to the top because I would love to be able to kind of keep this size succulent. However, there is kind of like this base, and that is where I'm going to be cutting today. Honestly, these tops might be a new baby anyway. So what I'm going to do is there's kind of these like more brown leaves, and that's just where I'm going to cut because it kind of just feels like a little bit more of a natural split. I'm going to take my scissors, and you kind of really want to shove it down into the center as best you can, and make a good cut there. And you want to make it really angled, kind of like the same angle that the leaves already are. So for me, I'm going to kind of just wiggle it in between the leaves that are already there and cut. And the great thing about this is you actually can't like truly mess it up greatly. If you cut a leaf, just peel it off, and the succulent won't know the difference. So I'm going to take, it has a few of these little baby leaves, because honestly, I'm wondering if I haven't taken a cutting in the past. I honestly might have just cut it in the exact same spot. So this red circle is the cutting that I just took, and there's this like black circle that looks scabbed up, and I think that's from where I took an old cutting. So that's kind of interesting. I am fairly confident, because this is a fairly decent base, that it should rejuvenate anyway, again, but that's probably why these base leaves at the bottom are so small. So I'm gonna just kind of take them off a little bit, and because I took a fresh cutting, I'm going to be setting this in I have a cardboard box. You could put it on a plate, you could put it on the table, whatever, it doesn't really matter. It just needs to be in a spot where it's not in direct sunlight, and it can dry for about 7 to 10 days. Essentially, you just want to make sure that this base where you just cut it is able to callus over. Otherwise, if you plant it directly in soil and water it, mainly the water ring part is the problem. You can put that in soil, just don't touch it with water. But you really don't want to water it because you don't want to cause rot is the main thing. These cuttings are going to be very susceptible to rot right away because they're essentially just a big open vessel where they can just suck it all in, but succulents don't like that. So you want to avoid the water for at least 10 days until that is calloused over. And then same thing with this one. Maybe I'll try to show you at this angle. But I'm going to kind of come down in between these leaves here. If my hand will do what my brain is telling it. And I may have to work around a little bit. These ones can kind of feel like a little bit of a hack job. A knife might be easier, but again, you're not gonna mess it up. So it doesn't have to be a perfect clean cut. Just rip off a few of the base leaves, and there you have it. That is a good looking cutting. And again, this isn't like a perfectly clean cut. It doesn't need to be straight across. The great thing about Haworthias is that they are truly very forgiving. So just rip off the base and we're just gonna put that in my cup. I'm going to rip off a few of the surrounding leaves just from my cut that might have gotten like damaged during the process. Otherwise, they should be good to go. So that is our cutting from that one. Now with this one, I am going to pot these ones up because I am fairly confident that these babies will all have roots, just because a lot of times the offsets do. If it doesn't have any roots, I might leave it in the container to kind of dry a little bit and then pot it up. But if it does have roots, I'm just gonna stick it in. I'm still not gonna water it for a little bit, but I am just gonna pot it up. So we'll get some soil in some of these pots really fast. And I do have a video on how to make your own succulent soil. If you are curious, I will include a link down to that below. And I will try to remember to link it on the screen here, but it's super simple, only 2 ingredients if you are wanting to make a bulk soil. Very simple. Otherwise, I also really like the Next Gardener succulent soil, and I'll link that down below as well. All right, so now for this guy, I'm not going to completely unpot him because I'm going to leave this base one in here so that they can continue to grow babies. But this one you can already see is quite loose and wiggly, and that's it. It doesn't have any root. Oh no, it does. It has a little root right there. So, but that's honestly about as simple as it gets for succulent propagation. You just have to rip them off. So, we'll just go around here. I'm up to 3, 4, 5. Now for Haworthias, I usually like to wait until they're about an inch or so in diameter before removing them. So now you can see we have our main one here, and there's a few babies, but they're a little bit small for my liking. I'm not in a rush, so I'm going to just leave them. They'll grow a little bit faster and get bigger on the parent plant than on their own. So I'm just gonna leave those there. And then for these 5, I'm just going to stick them in the soil. And then that is about it, but I figure I will propagate these guys while we are here. It's got some good roots. Just trying to kind of think if there's a best way to do this. This guy's kind of packed. Maybe we'll start with the zebra first. It's a little less intimidating. Now these ones are a bit more stuck on than those ones were, but it's really not any different. We'll sacrifice a little soil here. And all I'm going to do, and again, these are very forgiving, so I'm just gonna kind of loosen up this root ball a bit. It'll make it a lot easier. And like I said, most of these should already have roots when I rip them apart. But these ones all do feel fairly stuck to the base. So we have probably the biggest one here. That's what I'm gonna call the parent plant. That's probably what all of these are growing off of. And you can see that it's kind of stuck there. I'm just gonna take that and start gently pulling and wiggling away. And hopefully I will get some good roots like that. So the babies are very easy to just separate and go with. But if you want to take the cuttings, it will kind of fast forward this process. You don't have to wait for the babies, which I used to just wait for the babies to come, and it takes forever. So then we have our main one here. Now I could take a cutting of this one, but I'll just kind of let it go. Since it was making babies pretty good, maybe it'll make me some more. We'll see. Now for these 4 babies, the only other thing I'm gonna do maintenance-wise is there are some dead leaves, so I will just kind of pick those off. Otherwise, they're good to go in some soil. I didn't bring pots big enough for these guys, so I'll have to repot them in a little bit, but otherwise they look all very great. Look at all those babies. We got the one we took cuttings from, repotted, all those new little guys. Close up of him. And that is all I have for you guys today. If you have any questions about succulent propagation or how to propagate other specific succulents, please leave questions down in the comment section below. I love answering questions on growing succulents, and I'd be happy to answer them for you. But otherwise, I hope you guys found this helpful. Maybe you learned something new. If you did, please click the thumbs up button. It really supports my channel, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye.